Give her.
Turned away from it all like a blind man. Said all the things, but it don't work.
Keep coming up with love, but it's so slashed and torn.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I know Facebook's really mad. It's going to go through now and go, oh, you did that, but we are under pressure. And you know what? It's 5 days. That's China. We're being hosted. It's an unbelievable task. And this has to get out. This work has to be done. We're going to do a new song every day, and we'll let USA decide what they're going to do. You know, and we're going to put it on Facebook if they want to take it down. I guess it's not good. Email me, post this, everybody. We're going to go through this. We'll see what happens to the video. It's all right anyway, because you know what? The work we're going to go through today and for the next 4 days following is going to get a resolution done. Whether China sends that or they chop it up, we'll see. All we can do is try. We've been given this golden opportunity that no other Canadian in the history of World War II has ever brought forward. And there were troops that died, Canadians delivered on the battlefields, 39 to 45. Canadians suffered. There's entire towns. When we go to the Atlantic, I'm going to show you on our tour. We got 2 more months to finish it all. Monumental task, never ever been done, let alone by a third class in a treaty Indian. That's what's going to happen here. You're all going to see it. It's monumental. Media can cut it out. They can say it's not real, it's not to be viewed, but that's the reality of what we're doing. This UN resolution, yes, China is biting at the bit to get this done. They've given an ultimatum, 5 days. And, I took the weekend off, and, the Chinese are workhorses too. I work hard. They've gotten a lot from me. A lot of countries in the P5 have gotten a lot from me, and that's okay. I don't mind. Education is paramount. I would love to deliver massive education, as would Tina. We'd love to deliver education out to all the masses, all of the First Peoples, all the Canadians, second and third class. But we take what we can get. And you know what? The presentation, the work is more important sometimes than even the outcome. It's to do it, to be the first, to be the pioneers of such action. So we're going to go into a UN resolution. And yes, China wants to sponsor this. China's a UNSC P5, ascended absolutely in 1971 under the Communist Beijing Party. That is not what we are. And before we go any further and get into anything, everybody, the P5, China, Russia, USA, UK, and France, victorious allies of World War II, made one law right off the hop that every nation of the world agreed to, first time in world history, that you can never breach another UN state's boundaries, borders, their national unity. You can never do it. And they never have. Show me anyone. All these renouncing the UNSC, or at least the UN. Sure, there's an NWO, that's what we're fighting. We're fighting that NWO. But show me one of the P5 that's ever tried to usurp national borders to make it their own since 1945. That is the absolute law of the UNSC P5. They will kill to protect that law. That's reality. And I said that wrong. They will execute those who violate that absolute law that the entire world has agreed to. And every once in a while, nations, right now we have nations today just doing exactly that. And they're testing the system, the response. And they're going to find out the hard way. You can't do that. Not against a UN state. But that's not what we're here for today. It's to work from that forward. Everything we present, everything we go into the UN resolution is going to be all about the positives from the allies, the absolute allies. Nothing you ever heard from any politician in Canada, absolutely the opposite, because what you're fed by absolutely all the mainstream parties is 100% fiction. Propaganda, many nations in the world do it. When you go through the NWO, 70% of the UN states, you'll find they all perpetuate this. One of the strongest countries that perpetuates it today is none other than Canada. None other than Canada. I'm sorry, everybody. That is a fact. I wear this hat because it's the promise of a better future for all of you. Now, without further ado, before we get into the bread and butter, we have breaking news here from Dirty, Filthy, King of the Autocrats, King of Canada right now. He uses Mary Simon and all former Governor Generals during his reign as His Queen, His Majesty, but it's absolutely Trudeau's Majesty, as it was Harper's before him and every Prime Minister before. There is no democracy in Canada, no real democracy. There's a crown power that usurps all of that. And I'm going to let you read, I'm going to let Tina read for all of you what Justin Trudeau did tonight, just prior to this release, because Trudeau is an evil, evil autocrat trained by a family of autocrats, genocidal maniacs. Liberal Party of Canada is the worst of the worst, but just as bad as them, as guilty, maybe only 1/3 of the time, is the CPC currently, which is the Conservative Party of Canada. They went along with it, as did NDP, as did Bloc Québécois, as did every party in Canada at some point, besides just one in the history books, one in the province of Alberta, and another premier under the Conservative brand in Alberta who challenged the Crown. It's nearly never happened. One in literally 5,626. We've had two. One absolutely took the Crown on. It was done in Alberta. But I'm going to let you all hear from Tina Maravich now on what Justin Trudeau rolled out today, just hours ago.
Okay, we have our Prime Minister's statement from Turtle Island News. So here it is. I'm going to read it for you. Today, on the International Day of the world's Indigenous people, we celebrate the vibrant and diverse cultures, language, and traditions of Indigenous peoples here in Canada and around the world. We also reflect on the contributions they have made to society everywhere and continue to commit ourselves to ensure that Indigenous rights are recognized and respected. Canada was built on the ancestral lands of Indigenous peoples. First Nation, Inuit, and Métis have shaped our history and identity as a country. Yet for centuries they have endured systematic racism and discrimination. As Canadians, we must confront our mistakes, learn from them, and work to right the right past and current wrongs. The theme of this year's International Day of World Indigenous Peoples is leaving no one behind. Indigenous peoples and the call for a new social contract. It invites us to take a hard look at our existing systems, to engage and partner with Indigenous communities throughout a true nation-to-nation, Inuit Crown, and government-to-government.
Sorry, this is where I cut in. Inuit Crown. This is the part, the division, the Nazi-style German system of colonialism that Canada had crafted before Hitler. Hitler went to prison. What we just heard there, and they snuck in, Inuit Crown, which is Mary Simon. She's Inuit. Treaty Indians, this is for you. You want to hear some real stats of Canada? Real history of Canada that Facebook will not take down. Warner Brothers is going to watch this and they're going to decide what they view as their intellectual property, as I give some serious intellectual property here. Did you know, Canadians, and specifically I target my home province of Alberta, did you know there's only 9% of all the First Peoples, meaning 9% of the Treaty Indian, that's right, Treaty Indian, 9% is Inuit in Canada, 9%. Do you know how much land, viable, real land, is Treaty Indian land today? Do you know where all settlements come from in Canada? They come from treaty land. Do you know that every government ever ascended since 1867 has bartered and traded at the expense of the Treaty Indian. The bulk majority of the population. Did you know which province has a bulk of those Treaty Indians? That's Alberta. A bulk. A massive bulk. Where did that come from? Chased, executed in British Columbia. This is before Canada was a country, but nevertheless, the bulk of all Treaty Indians are found in the province of Alberta. By the numbers. By the numbers. The biggest Indian problem, according to the Indian Act, is Alberta, Canada. And then there's other provinces and areas. And it's true of more than 65,000 Inuits found in the three territories and overlapping treaty lands. 65,000, everybody. Small number. Small number. Justin Trudeau goes for the crown, hands it to an Inuit and says, let's steal all the Indian land in the name of the crown because they're giving it to you and a minority of peoples that we're going to use as a narrative, and we're going to wipe away the genocide and say, fuck the Treaty Indian, as it's always been. It's always been. I'm sorry. When we go past this, and I know this upsets you, Tina, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know it upsets a lot of people at home. But these truths have to get out because it's real, verifiable, and factual. Continue on, please, Tina. I'm sorry.
Okay. And government to government relationships, and to take meaningful steps to end the injustices and challenges these communities continue to face today. By working together, we can build a new social contract that recognizes Indigenous peoples and inherent right to self-determination and self-government, advances social and economic equity, and protects Indigenous laws, lands, cultures, and languages. As Canadians continue to learn about the impacts of colonialism and come to terms with the tragic findings of remains of children near former residential schools across the country, we acknowledge that we still have a lot of work to do to advance reconciliation. Last month, the Government of Canada signed a historic coordination agreement with Cowes First Nation, Treaty 4 territory, and the province of Saskatchewan on child and family services. This agreement ensures the community can effectively exercise their jurisdiction and make their own decisions about what is best for their children and families. Earlier this year, I'm
sorry, Tina.
Go ahead.
Sorry, everybody. Treaty Indians on provincial crown land. Civil rights of your property are found only in Section 92 of the Canadian Constitution. Whatever Trudeau promises you federally, he can't commit to because that's not privy of Section 91, his executive power. Did you know that is an all-out farce, a lie, and there is not a world expert in the world that reads the Canadian Constitution, best of the best in the world, many of which are my friends, the top 10, none of which will tell you that Trudeau has that privy whatsoever. And in fact, in the province of Ontario, there are more than 200 provincial Indian treaty and unceded Indians underneath 200 new organizations administered now by the province because they hold the civil rights of all treaty lands because that's property. And most of the property has been dispersed by the Crown a very, very long time ago as provincial and federal. Very few. Did you know that Treaty 4 has 0 federal Crown land? Not any. Not any. that means it's a bold-faced lie. And the fact remains, Scott Moe is in charge of that on the Saskatchewan side. Jason Kenney is in charge on the Alberta side and can do whatever the fuck they want to Treaty 4, and there's nothing they can do about it. As you all know in your history, as you all know across Canada, more times than not, again and again, they'll go after your land, and there's nothing constitutionally you can do about it. Because like the third and second class, you have zero civil rights, specifically zero property rights. The only treaty falls into Banff Kananaskis, and then upwards into Treaty 8, the overlaps into the military base. Everything else is an absolute lie, written right here, sold, tale of a tape, completely unfactual, a complete lie to all Treaty 4 Indians, to all Treaty 4 chiefs. A complete, utter fabrication, a lie on top of many genocidal lies. And as we go, I'm going to let Tina continue. I just have to jump in when it breaches international law and when Canada boldly comes forward, whether it's Justin Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, Jagmeet Singh, Yves Blanchette, you're all going down. You're all going down. We're bringing you down. We're bringing you down. And you can keep up with your media and your lies. Bold-faced lies, not backed up by any expert throughout the world. Real, credible ones, including all 5 of the P5. Please continue, Tina. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Earlier this year, we also announced new funding for fully implement the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action, including to address the systematic racism and barriers faced by Indigenous people in Canada's legal system. 76 of the report's 94 calls to action fall under the sole or shared responsibility of the federal government, and over 80% of them have been completed or are well underway. We will continue to work in consultation and partnership with Indigenous people, provinces, territories, and other partners to address the calls to action, bring about transformation, change, and improve outcomes for Indigenous communities.
Can I hold you there,
Yeah.
Tina? So everybody, if you did my 6 modules, 1948, world across, you want to use the term Indigenous? You want to talk about Africans? You want to talk about Haitians? You want to talk about Indians? You want to go around this world and talk Indigenous, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. You want to use that term? Okay, let's use that term. In 1948, all countries in the world bound and agreed to amend their constitution so that that last statement wouldn't be a statement in 2021. 1948 to 2021. The Conservatives and Liberals stole the crown in 1952. So let's just say we're going to erase those 4 years. 1952, every federal and provincial elected politician has known full well that they can't not have a constitution, which is every province and territory in Canada, that they have to enshrine human rights dictated in 1948. Canada signed it, agreed to it. All regions and the federal government were to adopt that. 1952, it was all parties' power every time you voted in a party. Not only that, Canada agreed to educate every Canadian. That means second, third class, all Treaty Indians, seated, unceded, all Métis, and all Inuit. Can anyone here raise their hand and say they've gotten that education, except for in the last 2 weeks from myself? You can't. There's never been a school, a college, a university in Canada that's ever educated that to you, or to tell you that world binding law dictated, and Canada signed it in 1948 and had full control over it since 1952. Other countries had to make amendments. Some countries took longer, but they all got it done. Do you know which countries didn't? All the current crown colonials. 16 of them, in fact. 16. Do you know who's the worst of the worst? Well, that's Canada. Canada's the worst of the worst. Worst of the worst in genocide. Worst of the worst in lying to every Canadian citizen. Every first person from Treaty to Métis to Inuit. There has never been an ounce of truth or education or constitutional amendment federally, let alone design of provincial regional constitutions, because of the division of powers. They said that's not a good idea. We would rather be Adolf Hitler. We were before him. We're going to continue after him, even though it's our country, our power as the first class. We're going to remain that way and keep talking fluff, keep lying in every document published to the entire world, let alone the P5, which we are going to educate with this outstanding resolution that each and every one of you gets to contribute. Please continue, Tina.
Okay. We are also committed to continuing to provide Indigenous communities across the country with the resources they need to address the terrible legacy of residential schools, to honor the children who never returned home, and to support survivors, their families, and communities affected.
Okay, everybody. The last two paragraphs, and even the one I interrupted, but that final statement, the resources. Okay. So let's just look at the ICC, International Criminal Court, which we're working on. We're working really diligently on it. I've been on it for some time, so have many of you. Why is it the resources come from the second and third class Canadian? We have politicians who've clearly breached international law. They've lied to the entire country, of all countrymen and women, for decade after decade, and committed gross atrocities. We know these are fundamental genocides. As Canada, everybody, this is not a lie. And for all those being lied to by the Canadian media and all politicians in every party, because none of them come forward, not a single MP defined as Indigenous according to narratives or not a single one brings up the fact that the reality is here, clearly today, that genocide has occurred over and over and over again, made illegal, and not one of them wants to address it or even state the fact that all politicians are guilty. Guilty, clearly. Read the Indian Act. It's right out of a horror movie from none other than Nazi Germany that was outlawed worldwide, 1945. That was to be extinguished. Portions of it, critical key portions, were stripped in 2014. Just 7 years ago, everybody. There's still two key portions that Adolf Hitler ran on for his Third Reich, his narrative in the act he presented in 1933, many years after the Indian Act. They're one and the same. Canada continues like Adolf Hitler and was before Adolf Hitler. And everybody says this is a good thing. There's never been one lawyer in all of Canadian history, whether that was a first person or of the Canadian system, to come forward to present this. Why? Because they swore an oath to get their bar, to get their legal status, as do all government employees, every single one, or of the justice system, or of any public societal, all swear that crown oath. That is 70% of all working Canadians in those fields today swear that oath. They don't even think about it. But guess what? A lawyer can't breach that oath. A judge can't breach that oath. Guess what happens? We'll take away your bar. No one's ever gone to the P5 to tell the truth. No one of any law firm or of any judgeship. Not a one. Not one honor. Because they all swore an oath that they will never do it, because they will give up their absolute bar. That's why this has never been done. And it won't ever be done. The only ones to get this done are the second, third, Métis, Inuit, and First Nations, i.e. the Treaty Indian, the bulk of the First Peoples. Those treated the worst, the Treaty Indian, always with the largest numbers, who historically suffered the greatest losses in numbers. They were the Indian problem. The promise nobody wanted to keep. The genocide, just like the Jews, that continues right now today. It's done regionally and even municipally. And Trudeau goes and says he has all these powers when he clearly gives away most of them, especially in the reserves of Treaty Indians, who mostly, almost all, fall in to the provincial jurisdiction. Many don't know that. Hardly any Treaty Indians fall into the federal. Trudeau is an absolute liar, as was Harper and every prime minister we've ever elected. There's always been, according to them, the first class, the Laurentian elite, and Indian problem. What is Laurentian? Two colonials, British and French. Two outlawed systems. Now, we're not blaming UK, we're not blaming France. They pulled the pin a very long time ago. They agreed with the Allies. Or the beaches of Normandy would have never been stormed. They would have fallen. World War II was a colonial war. Look it up. No one will give you this in school, but that's the truth. And every major, highest of highest academics will tell you this truth. Thank you for sharing, Tina. I know this is upsetting. I'm sorry. Do you have anything further you want to ask?
No, I'm good, thank you.
You're good? Okay, everybody. It's UN resolution time. What we're going to work on. This meeting today is to name it. To name it. I've given 6 modules. Before we go into that, I'm going to give you Canadian stats, because this will not be about Canada, but you always got to keep Canada in the back of your mind. I know this is difficult. We are sending a resolution that will affect all what they classify as Indigenous, but to make it proper, to make it effective for Canada, you have to know these stats as you go forward. Think about Canada and how you want to see Canada fixed. That will also fix Africa, New Zealand, Australia, just to name a few. Just to name a few. There's many. We'll get into that in the coming days. But I'm going to give you some stats. Worldwide stats. 79% of Canada is not available to anybody except for the political elite. They lease that out to foreign powers. They fill their back pockets. And little to nothing ever goes back to the First Peoples, specifically the Treaty Indian. Do you know how much wealth is generated from the Treaty Indian lands that's never ever been reciprocated to the Treaty Indian. There was no war in Canada. USA had an Indian war. They ended it a long, long time ago. Only 40 years after Canada became a country. Less than 40 years after Canada became a country. Canada was crapping their pants. The Laurentians, the colonial French and British, did not want the massive numbers of Canadian Indians to follow suit with the American Indian counterpart, which is all one people. USA imposed a lot, regardless of the power of the British and the French. As we all know, the War of Independence, there are many more wars. USA was tied into so many wars, they could not address it. But those wars came to a conclusion. And within that 40-year time frame, Canada crapped their pants. As we see, as you will see in these coming days, how many provinces were thinking about, wait a minute, Canada's not such a good deal after all. So we're Treaty Indians. Going, wait a minute, wait just a minute. We'll get into that. The 79% of Canada, most of which viable Treaty Indian land. That's what we're talking about here, everybody. Sure, Inuit has a lot of land up north, but how viable is it? Sure, there's minerals, resources. We look at the Arctic, that's huge. That's huge for Russia. Russia understands that. But then there's all the other rich lands as you head south. Forest, minerals, resources, agriculture, not available to the Treaty Indian for exploitation by foreign interests against the Treaty Indian. And Trudeau says, we're not going to settle that. None of the Laurentians do. We are going to oppress the Treaty Indian and the others, Métis and Inuit, but really target the bulk population, throw the crumbs to Métis here and there, throw the crumbs to the Inuit here and there, get them to agree, even give a crown power to them. We can fire them anytime we want within 30 days if they don't do what we want. When does a Treaty Indian get addressed? When does the 79% of Canada get addressed? More stats. Colonialism. Colonialism is defined, everybody, if you took the modules, colonialism is defined as taking a foreign population and sending it to another country to replace the population that's there. Now, if you eradicate people through starvation, through economic hardship, through lack of water, through lack of all your promises that have never been kept since 1867, and in fact the opposite, you genocided, you culturally assassinated, you forcefully assimilated, and you imprisoned, used the justice system as a weapon. You classified them not as human beings. You said Indian problem, which has remained forever as you've raped, pillaged, abused, and murdered children. And it continued till today. They do this in the face of 1945, that USA, Russia, China, UK, and France, who overlap Canada completely, said it's over, absolutely over, no more colonialism, no more moving populations from somewhere else, bringing them in to replace the population. Canada has done nothing of the sort, and especially today, right now, since Stephen Harper and Justin Trudeau, immigration has been explosive. Highest per person capita rates than any other country in the world. Did you know that, everybody? Did you know that? 205 nations. Canada imports more people year after year since 2008 by a whopping margin more than any other country in the world. We're not talking refugees. Yeah, sure, there's a percentage. Every country in the world agrees to in the UN, but they don't agree to these whopping immigration numbers. That's against the law. Did you all know that? Did you all know that? That you have to factor in your standard of living, your unemployment rate, and many other economic, social, and cultural factors. What's the birth rate of First Nations people over all these years of immigration? Oh, it's less. It's less. So is the Canadian, by the way, the second and third class. You can't produce anymore. You're unable to viably produce anymore because your standard of living, your cost of living, and your unemployment rates are way out of hand. Way out of hand. Do you know that's illegal in this world today? It's been illegal for over 70 years. 70 years. Absolutely legal. It's all part of colonialism outlawed 1945, the UN Charter. The P5 don't accept that. And they grow. China was victim of colonialism, massive civil war. Do you know they grow? USA still grows. USA still grows. They have a positive population, so does Russia. All the P5 do. Many countries of the world do. Not Canada. Why is that? Because they're breaching all the international laws. We go into 1960, which was outlined for all of you. Russia passes a UN resolution, decolonization. The whole world votes for it. Not one veto from any of the P5. Russia wins a major victory. No longer was Canada allowed to take women like Tina's mother and say that if you don't marry a white man, we're going to remove all of what you are. And so she did, and she lost that too. They take away her status. They do all of it. Assimilation, forced. Just to hide her children from residential schools because she went through it. Did you know that? Did you know that, Canadians? This ran on till 2017. 2017. And Canada's saying, oh no, it's not like that. Regions don't count. I have the law right here, 1966. Oh, regions count. Justin Trudeau's daddy, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Jean Chrétien, belong in prison. And there's many more. I'm not trying to pick on just the Liberals here. Conservatives belong in jail. You can go through every region and all premiers belong in prison. Do you know that you can't take children away from the parents? Did you know that's a fundamental unit of society? When you go and you steal children by force with armed police officers, which are ranked military in Canada, just like the SS, just like Nazi Germany. Did you know that? Did you know that, Canadians? That RCMP are unlike any organization in the world today, because you can't find another one until you go back to Germany, a colonial, with a chancellor presidential system that matched prime minister and governor general, same crown powers. Third Reich was created off of Canada's system. Canada's system's much older. Germany learned it from Canada. Hitler learned it from Canada. Just look at the Enabling Act, 1933. Start going through it and go look at the much, much older Indian Act. And you will find which came first, the apple or the tree. Germany didn't come first. Nazi Germany came after Canada, modeled after their exact colonial system. Different nouns, absolutely same definition. The resolution, everybody, we need to do, that China will sponsor, is to address children's genocide, to address class structure. Canada is a class structure. You don't exist in the Constitution of Canada. The Treaty Indian is not a human being according to our current Constitution in Canada. And if you doubt that, read the Indian Act, Read 115 A and B. Alive and well today. Where is Justin Trudeau, Aaron O'Toole, Jagmeet Singh, Yves Blanchette, and the rest of the filthy, autocratic, genocidal maniacs? They're all little Adolfs. And we can sit here and we can say, oh no, it's not like that. Oh no, the UN's evil. No. Soon, and it looks like Mark Friesen from PPC has woken up a little bit. People have been pressuring him. We're going to do an interview. I have from the UNSCP5 a short list of their world binding laws, what they ratified, a little bit of what I went through here for you guys in modules 1 to 6. But then there's a whole crap load of rogue UN. Nobody voted for. The world didn't vote for that. A lot of it vetoed by the UNSCP5. And you know how many there are? Sheet after sheet after sheet after sheet, all thrown in the garbage can. How many does Canada take forward? Those Laurentian elites. And when I say that, we're talking Liberal, Conservative, NDP, Bloc, Maverick. The Privy Council goes. The Crown Power goes. Zero for any of you, because second class, the business owner, the merchant, you don't exist in Canada's Constitution. The third class, you don't exist in Canada's Constitution. You're nothing. The Treaty Indian is a problem and not even a human being and do not exist in the Canadian Constitution. This is the same for Inuit and it's the same for Métis. You just get an upgrade because at least there's a little French Laurentian in you, forced through rape historically long ago. Murder and then rape. Sorry, it's worldwide. Everyone outside of Canada knows what colonialism is. They know what Canada is found on. They know the truth. 1966, we went through. That is the economic, social, what Trudeau tries to touch base with and says, you, the third and second class, will pay for all our crimes we do now, today, the lies we give today, and everything forever until there isn't an ounce of blood left. Your children will be slaves for my crimes to generate my wealth. This is the same for O'Toole. It's the same for Singh. It's the same for Blanchette. It will be the same for Maverick. It will be the same for PPC, Maxime Bernier, and it goes on and on and on because they've all had a taste of the crown and absolutely don't give nothing about any of you. The world does not function like this. In 1966 is a death blow to the autocracy. Now, Trudeau makes this statement. I just showed you all the lies, how he lies to the Treaty Indian. Don't tell the world about Treaty Indian. Russia doesn't really know what Treaty Indian is. They're trying to sort through it right now. We are going to be delivering. We've already delivered. They're swallowing it. They've already marched out to Mary Simon. China knows. Believe it or not, everybody of all countries, China devotes the biggest resources to this. 1 billion people. They take my works, hundreds of them, hundreds, everybody. They're ready to go. They want go time. They want it delivered next Sunday. And we're going to slap out Trudeau, O'Toole, Singh. There's no party going forward here. This video ain't going down. CCP's coming, and even when the name change comes, because it's coming, guys, I can't win against unwritten British law. All the parties, I just want to prove it to you. I want to show it to all of you. I already have the new name of the party. It's okay. We're going to go through this system because I need to prove it to all of you that you were not allowed, because you don't exist in the Constitution. No Treaty Indian, no Métis, no Inuit, no third, second class citizen will ever get codified constitutionalism, the big C. That is forbidden. It will be communist. Canadian Communist Party. That's all there is. Capitalized. The big C, little p, meaning small party, big on the people, big on all of you, we the people, is not to ever be allowed in Canada. A British law, because Britain runs on little c. They're a monarchy, they run on little c. I don't like it, I don't agree with it. I don't want that 900-year-old system. I give you all the education, but Canada does have lowercase legally and uppercase, and they chose, all the parties unanimously chose that they would rather have the Communist Party of Canada, the Canadian Communist Party, over the Canadian Constitutionalist Party. Anything but big C, little c. They don't want you to have any narrative, no such thing. They're going with historic British law. Unwritten, everybody. Unwritten. Just like all the rules of governance that gives the Crown power, and all of the first-class rules that are unwritten. Secret oaths, not so secret. They're so brazen they publish all of it. But that first-class system, unwritten rule of law, that they exist in the Constitution, and none of you, the 99%, do. And you should be happy the systems goes through, embrace it, follow their system. Who cares that decade after decade it gets worse and worse? Who cares how many atrocities they commit, turn and look the other way? And one day a Hitler will rise. Or an extreme socialist like Stalin became. One day one of those maniac nutcases, left or right, will rise, and Canada's system, just like the former German system of the Third Reich, Nazi Germany, will come to pass. Whether that's left or right, it will come to pass. China understands. China's ready. They want the resolution that all of you are going to do today. So now we're going to get into that, as I gave a little overview for all of those who've never been through any of the modules. I suggest you go back 1 to 6, go watch my modules. They're worth it. They're about an hour a piece. They're worth it. Learn about the P5. What this is today for all of us here, First Peoples and Canadians alike, because again, you don't exist. We need to deal with the Arctic Ocean in separation from treaty lands. We have to do that. We have to do that. Métis have to understand in settlement that the First Nation Treaty Indian, the full-bloods, need to be first because they've always been last. Métis is used, as is Inuit, is going to be used now to usurp the Treaty Indian, the outstanding treaties. That's what this is all about. And instead have the third and second class pay for the Treaty Indian. That's what all of the elite first class want. Slave the third and second class. Always do that. Break them, make them pay for our crimes. We can't do that. That's what our resolution has to address, but on a world scale, because this doesn't just exist here. It's in Africa. Africa, even when they got independence, many of those nations still go through it because they don't understand what I presented to all of you in the 6 modules, which is part of this resolution. We have to address all of it. We have to address the P5. We have to come up with a way to give them the power, the world to vote for, again, to deal with it, which means changing ICC, International Criminal Court. We need to change that narrative, everybody. If you're taking notes, now's the time, because we're going to be going through this tomorrow. The goals of today after this presentation, what you're all going to go forward with today. We need to present an intro to the P5. This is Russia, USA, France, UK, and China. On all their history, everybody, your homework tonight is the intro of the P5, meaning you must look on Google, on anywhere you can, find out every time in human rights one of those countries delivered. I already have a list, but I want all of you to do that work and email me. The email's in the title, davevjbjorkman@gmail.com. Email all things you can find since 1941, the build of UN Charter 1945, anything you can find. I have lots, but this is for all of you. That is one. The topic of children's genocide. Those 5 countries, what they've done for this world, cemented to address children's genocide. We need that. We need that whole history. Decolonization. Find as many countries who've been decolonized, got their independence. I know there's 85. I expect all of you to go run out and get that. Work on that between now and today. Send, or till tomorrow, send emails, davevjbjorkman@gmail.com. All the stories relating to Russia, USA, France, UK, and absolutely China. Go for it. All the way till today, from 1945 onward. The last thing that we have to all think about tonight that has to be addressed, and we're going into day 2 tomorrow, and the pace is fast. The homework assignment is the title of what our UN resolution is going to be. We need to keep in mind children's genocide. We need to keep in mind absolutely decolonization. We need social, economic, and cultural, all in one for the entire world. Decolonization, children's genocide. And don't forget decolonization. We have to craft the title. The intro of the P5, the glorious things they've done in relation to those, and we have to craft the title. This is your homework assignment till 7 p.m. tomorrow night. That's it. Day 1, pretty easy. We're going to go into more tomorrow. And remember, it's not about Canada, but think Canada. Everything I've told you, the worst colonial of today, leader of the NWO, is Canada. Do not offend the P5. Do not offend China. Canada wants that. Do not offend Russia. Canada wants that. Do not implicate USA. Canada wants that. We're going to get into more on USA and what they're fearful of. All these nations, the P5, have fears. Fears and triggers that will shoot down a resolution if we do it incorrectly. But we're not going to fall for Trudeau. We're not going to fall for Aaron O'Toole. We're not going to fall for Jagmeet Singh. We're not going to fall for Yves Blanchette. We're not going to fall for Maxime Bernier. The NWO is Canada. Leader bar none. G40 cities proves this. The work's done. The jig's up for our politicians. We know who's the worst in the UN General Assembly. We know who's leading the NWO. And using all of the 79% of the resource lands unavailable to all those who are not listed in the Constitution, starting with what they classify as the most inhuman, the Treaty Indian. And it just goes on from there. We're all in this together, and the sooner Canadians wake up, the sooner we can tear this house of hell down. And the profit, the land, can be released to everybody. We can settle the claims. We can end the first class, and everyone can be wealthy for many, many generations. You can make it a forever agenda through constitutionalism, which is the party, not the resolution. But think about these 2 topics again, everybody. I'm going to say it again. Email me on a title of the resolution that incorporates any of those from the 6 modules. Don't forget, has to have the decolonization or addressing colonials, children's genocide, and any cultural, economic, or social implications. That's what we have to do. And remember, an intro to the P5, China, Russia, USA, UK, France, and as many stories of the great human rights things in those narratives those 5 countries have done. When you go look for it, you'll find it, everybody. And you'll find out your boogeyman, your bad guy, is Canada, the NWO leader. We have the least amount of land available to us than any other country in the world. We're one of the largest countries in the world. Small population, hindered so greatly. None worse than the Treaty Indian. Thank you for your time tonight, everybody. This is day 1. 2 important things. I expect emails. Tomorrow we go through that, and then we start shifting to high gear because it's going to get faster and faster. Would you like to add anything, Tina?
I just want to say, as a Treaty Indian, there are people out there who love me, and I'm going to keep on fighting for you. I'm going to put us on the top floor. Don't you worry.
She's already there, ladies and gentlemen. She's already there.
Hasn't let me out of the corral yet.
Oh yeah, she'll get there. She'll get there. She's already made a mark on China. China's just loving it. And for all Treaty Indians to know, China took our narrative, my picture formats. They took, he's not the national chief anymore, but they got my pictures of Perry Bellegarde from Alberta and all that. That's been put in with the headdress, all of it. It's crazy. It's pretty cool. China knows what's going on. USA's reluctant, but that's our job in this intro. You all find it, send it. Don't be scared. Don't be worried about what I'm going to think. Keep hitting it. Find the most positive vibes.
Never give up.
Intro. Never give up. Honor the P5. Don't listen to Canada. Scrap Canada. Because I'll tell you all right now too, China was not, I repeat, live on UNSC 7-8 weeks ago now, live. When China presented Canada, nobody threw China under the bus. They let Canada go with the worst human rights atrocity countries in the entire world. Listed for a year. And it's annual, everybody. Canada's on the list. Not China. Not China. USA, revoked. UK, revoked. I'm going to tell you, Hong Kong, 100-year deal. UK cemented China before USA did by a long time. You can't go back. And I'm not attacking UK. That's not what this is. I'm just telling you, UK's already acknowledged and said, okay, we're done. So did USA. Do you know who didn't? Do you know which idiot country didn't? And which idiot parliament voted through to go after China? Well, that was Canada. With no facts, no evidence, no nothing. And now Canada, who there is evidence of genocide and the rest of it, is now listed with the worst countries in the world. And now Justin Trudeau says, well, I don't know why they're doing this to us, but what we're going to do is get all the second and third class, like we always do, to pay for it. And we're going to suck hold to Inuit. We're going to have a crown Inuit. And we're going to try to pay off 65,000 people with the second and third class at the expense of the Treaty Indian. We just won't tell the UNSCP5 anything about the Treaty Indian. They'll never know. They'll never know. Well, they already know. This is the funniest part. They've already known for over a year, but now we have a face to it, and we have a real narrative, and all of you are doing it. Do you guys like how Facebook hasn't taken this down? And now Warner Brothers is going to decide, what do we do about that music? This is a pretty good video. We had to watch it. Maybe they'll make a movie. What do you think? I don't know. You never know. All I can do is try. I know Facebook's going to be mad at me. I don't know what they're going to limit me with, but we're all here. You're all watching. Love all of you. Share. And, Queen was a great opener, so I'm glad to do that. Bye, everybody. Love you all.
Bye, everybody. Take care.